Hello everyone and welcome. In today's video, I'm going to begin a new RC build using parts that I had sitting around our shop, including this awesome Revell 1969 Chevrolet Camaro model car body. I'm therefore calling this project the Parts Bin Camaro. Though it won't just be me making all the calls on this build, I'll be enlisting the help of you, the viewers, to decide how to build this car. More info on that later on in this video. Let's start by having a look at the car that I'll be building, which is a 1969 Chevy Camaro. In my opinion, one of the most iconic and best looking American cars ever made, the 69 Camaro was the last year of the first generation, and although very similar mechanically to the previous 67 and 68 model years, the body was unique for 1969, featuring those awesome body lines going down the side and a deeper grille, among other changes. Nearly 250,000 of these cars were built, partially thanks to some production issues causing the all-new second generation Camaro to be delayed, until finally showing up at dealers in late February 1970, hence the frequent 1970.5 distinction. Spoiler alert. Revell's 1/25th scale recreation of the car looks fantastic. This car has been released by Revell in a plethora of different kits, from the specialty big block Yenkos and Copos to the Z28s and Super Sports. Still waiting on the base model version with the inline 6 though. It seems every time I step foot into a hobby shop or swap meet, some form of this kit is available, so if you're interested in doing a similar build, you should have no trouble picking up one of these bodies. I have a number of these kits just sitting around, some more complete than others, so this is just a sample of some of the parts you'll get and the quality that you can expect. Everything here has some great detail and looks nicely molded. So if you'd like to do a build similar to what I'll be showing here, we're going to be releasing the STL files for a fully FDM 3D printable chassis onto Patreon, very similar to what I'm building here. The chassis will be sized to perfectly fit Revell's 1/25th scale 1969 Camaro bodies. So if you're feeling inspired, fire up your printer and join us on Patreon. The link is below in the description. The FFR SC1 Sport chassis might be familiar to some of you. For a while we sold these in almost ready-to-run form on our site, sized for these 1969 Camaro bodies. Although quite popular, profits were just too slim, and when the price was increased, sales subsequently dropped, resulting in these almost ready-to-run FFR SC1 chassis currently being discontinued, with more focus for us instead being on designing easy to 3D print parts for all of you and distributing STL files through our site and on Patreon. We've still got some of these parts left over, so why not throw together a quick chassis? I actually had another video planned for release today, but since it's not ready, late last night I decided to throw this chassis together instead. I was up till like 4 AM filming this, so I hope you'll enjoy this 69 Camaro build. And maybe if you'd take a quick moment to hit that thumbs up button, it'll help justify my decision to put YouTube ahead of my sleep. I don't ask for much on this channel, but after getting like 3.5 hours sleep last night, if you could just take 2 seconds to hit that thumbs up button and boost this video a little higher up in the algorithms, that would be awesome. Anyways, I'm going to somewhat quickly showcase the chassis assembly process. I've shown this process in detail many times before, and even have put up some tutorial videos, so if you're building one of these chassis, please refer to that tutorial video. One difference on this chassis from most others I've built is that this one has a torque arm rear suspension. The upper trailing arm mount is not present on this chassis, resulting in there being a little more suspension travel, or being able to have the car sit just a little bit lower. I simply use two 1x5mm screws to secure the torque arm to the axle, and then use two 1x3mm screws to secure the torque arm chassis mount to the chassis up towards the front of the car. Now to secure the torque arm to the chassis mount, I use a 1x8 machine screw and nut, and that's all it takes. Just make sure your torque arm is oriented correctly, just like mine is here. As always, if you ever encounter any issues or have questions during the assembly process, please don't hesitate to send us a message. We'd be happy to help. I'm using a MC01 front suspension and steering assembly for this build. Again, this was something just sitting on a shelf already assembled. Don't really know the story on it, but it's the right size and seems to be functioning fine, so I'll be using it for this car. Like I said, a pretty straightforward standard FFR SC1 build. I did contemplate a little with what motor to install. I put in a 4000 RPM N20 motor. I was thinking about putting in one of the faster 7K RPM RF130CH motors. But at the time, I was thinking that since I'm planning on probably selling the car at some point, I wasn't sure if I wanted to put something too crazy powerful in the car. However, as I said in the beginning, you all are going to help me build this car, so I'm going to leave that decision up to you, the viewers. But before you go typing away, wait until the end because there is a catch with using the RF130CH motor that you all are going to want to take into consideration before making your decision. Everything on the front end looks good, and everything on the rear looks good. All that's left to do now is to install the wheels and tires. For now, I'm just putting on a set of Cragar-inspired 17mm wheels and some silicone slicks. However, again, this build is going to be led by you, so I might be swapping these out depending on what we decide. I will say that these wheels look a lot better with some chrome paint, and I'll probably slap on a set of street tires rather than the silicone slicks it has right now. The chassis fits the body perfectly and already is looking pretty cool. But right now, all the car is a blank canvas, and I want you, the viewers, to help decide how this car gets built. From the paint to the interior to the wheels to the motor, this build will be led by all of you, the viewers. At the end, I also plan on putting this car up for sale, so if one of you likes it enough to buy it, you'll have that opportunity. So how do I participate? I can hear you asking. Well, I'll be taking suggestions below in the comments and on our social media pages, and I'll be picking out some ideas that seem popular, feasible, and that I like. I'll then be posting some polls on the YouTube community page, and probably some on our social media pages and Patreon as well. We'll take a democratic approach with what gets the most votes is what gets built. We've done some polls like this before for paint colors, but never for a whole build, so this should be pretty fun. I'm also just realizing that this ties in quite nicely with the current election season here in the US, so I think I deserve an A+ on my part for the theming. Jokes aside, I think this should be a fun project and a cool opportunity for some creator-audience interaction. I am going to lay down a few requirements for this car. First, it needs to be a street car / street legal car. I don't really want to do a race car build at this time, I'm really craving some sort of street car. Second, no extensive body modifications. I just want to keep this build simple and straightforward and not have to put in a bunch of time designing body parts and doing a bunch of custom bodywork. Third, no tuner replicas like Yenko's or Baldwin Motions, etc. Literally only because I don't have the decals or custom bits for these cars on hand. I could always buy one of those kits that has all of the decals and the big block engine, but that sort of defeats the part spin theme I've got going here. So with that said, let your imagination run wild. The first question is going to be, what motor should I use? I already talked a little about this earlier, but basically I can choose this smaller but slower N20 motor or this very fast RF130CH motor. Now if I choose the N20, it's still quite fast and also will allow me to add some kind of engine bay to the car. With the RF130CH, any kind of detailed engine bay isn't really going to be doable because of its size, so keep this in mind. To participate in the polls, just make sure that you're subscribed and turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon. Hopefully, YouTube will display our community tab posts in your subscription feed, including polls for deciding how to proceed with the build. Also, you can follow our social media pages linked below. I'll go ahead and post the first poll regarding the motor in maybe a day or two. But that's going to be all for this video. I'm certainly looking forward to this build, and I hope you all are as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.